Privacy-conscious web browsing comes with a great dilemma. Which browser should we choose and why? More often than not, the solution cannot be concluded in a single option, but in multiple clients for multiple use cases. We want different activities to be done in separate environments. This is what is called compartmentalization. In this guide, I will show you one comprehensive way to compartmentalize your web browsing for enhanced privacy and security. By no means is this the perfect way to do things. This is just one way that works, at least in most cases. What's great is that it's not too complicated to set up or to maintain and can be easily adopted even by people new to the internet privacy scene. Please note, however, that this video is desktop only. On mobile phones and tablets, browsing is different and has other settings and considerations. Moreover, let's not forget that technology changes and evolves every day. What works in this video might not work in a year or in a few months. This is just the ever-changing nature of the field. The tools change, the philosophy stays the same.
It's a very simple connection to make.
Extremely simple.
Each web browser has its own strengths and weaknesses, so it's important to understand the differences between them. However, going through every single browser in existence would be a daunting task, so it's more practical to focus on the main browser engines and the most popular clients built on them. The three primary engines used by 99% of desktop browsers are Webkit, used by Safari, which is developed by Apple; Blink, developed by Google and used by all Chromium-based browsers including Google Chrome, Microsoft Edge, Brave, Vivaldi, Opera and Ungoogled Chromium; and last but not least, Gecko, developed by Mozilla, used by Firefox and Tor. It's also worth noting that Internet Explorer used a proprietary engine called Trident. However, since the browser reached its end of life in 2022, we won't be discussing it any further. Compartmentalization is key. To effectively browse the web with a focus on privacy and security, I recommend using three separate browsers. One that will be used for web apps that require login information, and for those that rely heavily on cookies, cross-site connections and scripts. A second one that will be used for private browsing, like visiting unknown and untried websites. It can also be used for everything that doesn't require logging in or other types of browser sessions. And the third one that will be used for anonymous web browsing, meaning that if we use it correctly, our internet activities will never be tracked back to us. While we could explore advanced techniques like containerization and virtualization to achieve even greater separation between our browsing sessions, the objective of this guide is to provide a solution that is private and secure within reasonable limits. After all, we shouldn't sacrifice the convenience of surfing the web entirely. Unplugging the internet would certainly be the most secure option, but not a very realistic one. Let's begin by discussing Webkit, which powers Safari, the default browser for Apple's Mac OS. Although Webkit is a fast rendering engine that efficiently utilizes system resources, it lacks the customization options of other engines due to Apple's closed ecosystem. As a proprietary closed-source operating system, macOS is tightly controlled by Apple, which provides excellent security but raises concerns about privacy. While Apple takes measures to safeguard user data and metadata from third-party access, let's not forget how it recently came under fire, for example for its proposed CSAM detection feature, which would have allowed Apple to scan users' photos for child exploitation material. Following a strong global backlash and an open letter signed by multiple privacy organizations, Apple revised the feature to run algorithms only locally, but still gathered significant data from it. Additionally, while Webkit is open source, Safari is closed source, making it difficult to fully understand its operations. For these reasons, we will not be using Safari. The next one is Blink, Google's powerful and fast browser engine that supports advanced features for modern web technologies. Although it's closely tied to Google's business priorities and interests through Google Chrome, it is also the core of the open-source Chromium project, which forms the basis of most popular web browsers. While Google develops and maintains Chromium's codebase, it can be easily forked by privacy-respecting browsers to ensure that security updates and features remain up to date. However, Chrome, Edge, Vivaldi, and Opera are not open source. That means that we can't be 100% sure that they are secure or privacy-respecting, as we cannot see what is going on behind the scenes. Moreover, Google's business model heavily infringes on privacy, making Google Chrome a highly invasive spyware, avoidable for privacy-conscious individuals. This leaves us with only two options: Brave and Ungoogled Chromium. Ungoogled Chromium is basically a degoogled version of Google Chrome, with all the Google-specific bloat and spyware removed. It's a fork of Chromium with various functionalities disabled that require Google domains, including Google Safe Browsing. Binary blobs have been removed, and non-existent web domains have been used to replace Google's web domains. Furthermore, internal requests to those domains are blocked. Unlike Brave, there is no corporation behind Ungoogled Chromium, only a community of collaborators. Brave, on the other hand, is built on top of Chromium, and it adds extra privacy and security features to the browser's standards. It's a pre-made solution with built-in ad and tracker blockers, and it's backed by Brave software, the developers behind Brave Search and the basic attention token. The truth is that both browsers are actually excellent options, but we will go with Brave for the heavyweight web apps. Websites are less likely to break with Brave, and we also want something corporate-backed for our user accounts. While Brave has had its rough patches in the past, such as when they programmed their browser to automatically swap cryptocurrency service URLs to their affiliate links, still, it's well tested and secure with a huge community behind it. Gecko is developed by Mozilla, a non-profit organization that is dedicated to promoting an open and accessible internet. Gecko offers a rich programming API that makes it suitable for a wide variety of roles in internet-enabled applications such as web browsers, of course, and content presentation, client-server applications like the Thunderbird email client. While Gecko is the least popular of the three major browser engines, it still provides great customizability, an add-on store, and support for all modern web technologies. Gecko's customizability makes it possible to harden the browser to no end with user templates, such as the one by Arkenfox. These templates come with configurations that enhance privacy and security and reduce tracking and fingerprinting. However, configuring the browser manually can be advanced, time-consuming, and a bit risky, as it may cause breakage when the browser is updated. That's why a pre-made solution that provides us with the same configurations is preferable. Enter Librewolf, which is essentially Firefox with a tinfoil hat. It is designed to increase protection against tracking and fingerprinting techniques, while also including a few security improvements. According to their website, the Librewolf team aims to remove all telemetry, data collection, and anti-freedom features like DRM. This browser will be our choice for the web surfing solution. You might be wondering why we chose a Gecko-based browser like Librewolf if this engine is the least popular among the three major browser engines. The reason is simple. Wide adoption always comes with the downside of being the most targeted by hackers and malware. This is evident from the fact that there are many more malware attacks on Windows than on Linux, for example. Now that we have our browsers for the web surfing and the user account management parts, we need one that makes us anonymous. Not so many choices here. Tor browser is definitely the perfect tool for this job. It is a Firefox fork that enables us to browse web pages without being traced or monitored. Tor browser is built on top of the Onion protocol, which provides access to the Tor hidden services, also known as the dark web. However, ClearNet sites can also be visited through the network. Tor is much more than just a browser. It works by routing internet traffic through a network of volunteer-operated servers, or nodes, that are located around the world. When users connect to the Tor network, their traffic is encrypted and routed through multiple nodes before finally reaching the destination, making it nearly impossible for anyone to track their online activities or identity. By following a few simple rules while browsing with Tor, we can ensure that we stay in the shadows of the internet. Prior to getting into the specifics, it's imperative to mention that during my work on this video, Mullvad, which is widely considered as one of the best VPN providers, if not the absolute best, has joined forces with the Tor project and launched Mullvad browser. Before you get your hopes up, let me clarify that if your initial assumption was that by using Mullvad's browser, it would only route your browser traffic through Mullvad's servers, you will be disappointed. Essentially, it's just another secure Firefox derivative. Only time will reveal whether it can replace Librewolf or if it's merely a commercial maneuver from Mullvad. Regardless, it's still new, so I wouldn't advise using it just yet. For the purpose of this demonstration, I will be showcasing the installation procedures on a Ubuntu-based Linux distro. However, it's important to note that these browsers are not limited to Ubuntu, but are also accessible on Windows and Mac with identical configuration options. To begin with, we will be installing Brave browser to facilitate our user accounts and heavy web applications. The first step is to navigate to brave.com. There are multiple installation options available for different Linux distributions, but since I am using a Ubuntu-based VM, I will proceed with the corresponding installation commands. To start with the installation process, let's open a terminal and execute the following commands. First, we will install curl, a tool that allows us to transfer data to our machine through various supported protocols. The second command will download the archive keyring via HTTPS using curl, which enables us to verify the integrity of Brave's installation binaries. The third command adds Brave's repository to the list of repositories that our package manager utilizes. Finally, with the last two commands, we update the system and install Brave itself. Once the installation is complete, we can launch Brave. We don't want it to be our default browser, nor do we want to share any reports with them. Let's open up the settings. In the Getting Started section, we should choose to open the New tab page on every startup. Under Appearance, we can select any design we like and configure other settings according to our preferences. It's essential to keep the New tab page as minimalistic as possible to avoid any unnecessary requests to various services. The default settings of the Brave Shield are suitable for our purpose, which is basically maintaining our web application accounts. We don't want Brave rewards or any features related to social media. On the Privacy and Security tab, we should turn off the daily pinging of Brave servers, which should be opt-in only in my opinion. It's also recommended to clear browsing data and history every time we close the browser. we should ensure that third-party cookies are blocked and clear all cookies when closing all windows. Standard protection should suffice, but we should also use HTTPS always and secure DNS whenever possible. Regarding the site and shield settings, we should consider our personal preferences when allowing sites to request permission for things like location and microphone. I recommend blocking everything and enabling it once it's needed for something. It's important to note that private windows with Tor should be avoided, as the Onion network should only be used with a Tor browser or the Tails operating system. We won't be using the sync feature. Regarding the search engine, I recommend using StartPage. Using StartPage, we are able to search on Google without actually connecting to Google servers. We don't want Hangouts, and we certainly do not want to download torrents through our browser. For that we can use qBittorrent. Web3 can be skipped as well. We should turn off every autofill service and instead use a password manager, which I will demonstrate shortly. Brave Translate should also be disabled, since its translation is not done locally. We should set our browser to always ask where to download files. We can leave everything on the default under System, and finally, we can remove the annoying little Brave Wallet icon from the top right. Also, if the cookie consent notice blocker comes up, it is a nice little feature to use, as we delete all our history when we exit the browser. This will trigger cookie consents to always show up for sites that utilize them. Next, let's install Bitwarden, an open source password manager. It's always a good practice to search for downloadable content through different paths in case we don't know the official website by heart, in order to reduce the attack surface for phishing sites and malware. To make sure, let's use Ctrl-Tab and switch back and forth between the tabs to ensure that we have the same end URL from different sources. Once Bitwarden is installed, we can pin it and proceed with the account creation. Keep in mind to always use a strong password, as all accounts stored in the password manager can be compromised if the master password is cracked. Let's log in now and see how it works. For testing purposes, let's add the Bitwarden account we just made to the password manager itself. After filling in the required text fields, it can be saved. We have the option to manually copy the username and password to the clipboard and paste them into the credential fields, or Bitwarden can fill them in automatically. On every browser startup, we only need to type in the master password and we will be ready to go. A great feature of Bitwarden is that it can generate strong passwords for our accounts on the go. We also want to download uBlock Origin by Raymond Hill from the same store where we got Bitwarden from, in addition to Brave's built-in ad blocker. We can leave the settings on default, as it does a good job of blocking ads out of the box. With these steps completed, Brave is now ready for us to use with our heavy web applications and accounts. Let's get started with setting up Librewolf for private web browsing. Firstly, we head over to librewolf.net and click on the Installation tab. We can find our operating system, which is Debian-based Linux in my case. We will then proceed with the installation from Librewolf's repository. The first command updates and installs a few necessary dependencies for the installation. The next command is a bash script that checks the codename of our Ubuntu distro to determine which version of Librewolf should be installed. The third command downloads the keyring for the Librewolf repository and installs it to our system's keyring storage. This ensures that the authenticity of the packages that will be downloaded from Librewolf's repository can be verified. The following bash script adds a new package source for the repository to our system's list of package sources. Lastly, we update the system and install Librewolf. Once the installation is complete, we can open Librewolf. The browser requires minimal configuration as it tries to provide an out-of-the-box experience. However, there are some nice little tweaks that can improve our experience. Firstly, under the Home options, I recommend enabling 4 rows of shortcuts. This makes it easier to save links without cluttering the bookmark bar. For a custom URL, it is a good idea to use some kind of a diagnostic website that shows us some information about our machine before entering our browsing session. For instance, if we are connected to Mullvad VPN, we can set their leak checking service as our homepage to quickly check if we have any leaks or if our IP address is blacklisted. Let's choose Start Page as our search engine. Under Privacy and Security, we choose not to remember our browsing and download history. Also, we should clear site settings when the client is closed, uncheck custom suggestions, disable asking permissions just like we did with Brave, and make sure that HTTPS only mode is enabled for all windows. Now comes Librewolf's custom settings pane. If we don't plan on using IPv6 with our VPN, for example, then it's better to uncheck it here as it can lead to DNS resolution problems. However, if we do not use a VPN or IPv6 is enabled on the VPN client, we can leave it on. It is also crucial to enable letterboxing. Letterboxing is a privacy feature that adds empty space around the content of a web page, effectively reducing the size of the visible area. By doing this, letterboxing hides a portion of the browser window, spoofing our client's screen size so that websites cannot be sure of our specific screen resolution. This is useful because some websites use the size and resolution of our screen to capture this information as a fingerprint of our device and use it to track us across the internet. Isn't it crazy how desperately they are trying to identify our browsing sessions? Additionally, letterboxing uses the most commonly used resolution, which makes us blend in more easily. We also want the browser to scan our downloads. The process happens locally, so it is perfectly private and secure. A quick note about shortcuts. Because of its aggressive browser cache deletion, Librewolf won't be able to save the icons of the websites we visit, only their URL. The initial letters of the URL will be shown as icons instead. Let's continue with extensions. uBlock Origin is installed to Librewolf by default. The default settings won't suffice for web browsing, however, so we need to tweak it. We can find the instructions to set the blocking mode to medium on uBlock's GitHub documentation. We will be able to tell that we have successfully set it up when the little shield on the top right will turn blue. We open uBlock's dashboard and check advanced settings. Then we make sure that all of the filter lists are checked. Next, we proceed to the My Rules pane, where we add 2 rules for the script and frame blocking. If we check the little shield icon now, we can confirm that we have successfully set uBlock to medium mode. It's important to note that privacy can come with some drawbacks. Browsing with aggressive blocking techniques like this can sometimes be a painful experience and may require some manual tweaking for certain websites. For example, Reddit is a privacy nightmare and uses a lot of third-party scripts, frames and CDNs for its website content. If we visit Reddit with uBlock settings, the page will likely be broken and unusable. To fix the broken and unusable Reddit page, we need to manually enable third-party scripts and frames if necessary. For a random website that we only use once, this should be enough, but we can also make these changes permanent with the little lock icon. We can refresh the page and see that it became usable and the content loads. For the web surfing, we will also be using another extension called LibRedirect. This extension automatically redirects privacy-infringing web apps to lightweight, privacy-friendly, community-hosted alternatives. We will install this extension from the Firefox add-on store. Let's begin by configuring it for YouTube. There are many privacy-friendly frontends for YouTube due to its popularity, but the 2 most reliable ones are Piped and Invidious. Personally, I prefer Piped, so I will choose that one. We want this extension to automatically switch to Piped with any YouTube video link that we open or find embedded. To achieve this, we need to select the Pipe instance from the many options available. The official instance is pipe.video. Now let's put it to the test. Type youtube.com into the search bar and see how it automatically switches to pipe.video. From now on, it will switch any YouTube video to its own link. This is the basic philosophy of LibRedirect. It's simple, but pretty powerful if used well. It is recommended to research the available privacy-friendly frontends and platforms for this extension. Using the more popular instances can help blending better. For most of these frontends, on their official page you can check the user count of each available instance and decide which one to use accordingly. It is important to note that not all supported websites should be automatically enabled, as not all have great alternatives. For example, I couldn't find any reliable and usable alternative to IMDb. On the other hand, Nitter, instead of the official Twitter website, is a viable alternative. For Reddit, there is a great private alternative called Libreddit that I would highly recommend using instead of the bloated spyware that reddit.com is. Sometimes instances may not respond, go offline or even shut their doors for good. Because of this, we have the option to ping all of them directly from the client. We can even select multiple of Libreddit instances to randomly switch between them for each query. To test it, after our search for reddit.com, the first URL we get is slipfox.xyz, but if we try to search for Reddit again, the second time around we get ahwx.org. This is an awesome way to avoid trusting just one website with our queries. If security taught us anything, it is never to keep all our eggs in one basket. Any post or subreddit that we open will be loaded through a random instance from now on. Lastly, I would like to mention another alternative that I think is a must-have, which is wikiless.org instead of wikipedia.org. There was an interesting post about it on the developer's Codeberg repository, which has since been removed. I do not know the exact reasons for its removal, but anyway, you can find it with the Wayback Machine. I will include the complete link for it in the description. In the final section of this guide, we will explore how to set up the Tor browser for anonymous browsing. Our preferred method for installation is through flathub.org using Flatpak, a distro-agnostic software installation approach that works across many different Linux distributions. While it's usually recommended to install sensitive software such as Tor exclusively from official websites with their official binaries, in this case, we can use the Flatpak version of Tor browser launcher with confidence. This launcher is a client that installs Tor browser from the official source with its official binaries, which means that this is actually a secure installation method. In case Flatpak is not installed, we can visit flatpak.org and choose our distro to install to. The first command will install the Flatpak package. We also want to integrate it into Discover, which acts as the software center of this specific KDE desktop environment that I use. Lastly, it's important to add the Flathub repository, which is the recommended source for obtaining Flatpak apps. Once all the prerequisites are in place, we can quickly and easily install Tor browser launcher with only one command or by downloading the Flatpak ref file. We always want Tor to automatically connect to the Onion network. Tor browser has successfully launched, and we can observe that it uses the same letterboxing technique that we previously configured in Librewolf. Currently, we can see that we have connected to a very slow node. This is a common issue with Tor, as it randomly selects entry, middle and exit relays for the ClearNet websites. If any of them has performance problems, our request will suffer from it greatly. However, we have the option to restart the connection with the new identity button, which will provide us with new randomized nodes. Now we had better luck, as DuckDuckGo loaded quickly. Let's delve into some basic configurations for the Tor browser. It's essential to note that Tor's strength lies in its default configuration. Any modification we make will increase our fingerprint's uniqueness, which is not ideal as it makes us stand out from other anonymous Tor users. Therefore, we should avoid installing any extensions, for example. For the custom homepage, I recommend configuring ipleak.net, because doing this will let us see our exit relay's country and detect potential leaks on Tor startup. Exit relay basically means the last computer of our onion chain, the one that makes the request to the target website. It's also worth mentioning that when browsing a ClearNet website, we must never give out personal information and never log in anywhere. Exit relays can be operated by anyone, globally, and if they have malicious intentions, data theft or even hacking attempts could occur. On the other hand, when connecting to Onion network websites, hidden services, if you like, there is no exit relay, because the hidden service website will take over the last stop. Therefore, many ClearNet services also operate a hidden service on the Onion network to enable users to log in securely without compromising their credentials. Now, it is crucial to never leave security on the standard setting. We always want to go for the safer or the safest options, as these make it much harder to de-anonymize us with scripting attacks. Know, however, that a lot of sites might break and custom node script tweaking will be necessary for some websites. The inner workings of the onion network can be overwhelming and complicated, but with a bit of research, one can easily understand it and see behind its scenes. For starters, Tortaxi is a great showcase of popular onion services that might be of interest to those who are new to the topic. Basically, it's a front page for the dark web. Thank you for your attention. If you enjoyed this guide and feel like you have learned some things, consider subscribing to the channel. More guides and reviews will be coming in the future.